See, the Bible speaks quite a bit about basically being clean. It says, touch not the unclean thing. It says that you may put difference between holy and unholy and between unclean and clean. The Bible's very specific of it being clean. If it's unclean, it is not healthy for you. Now, here's what you need to understand. That in today's world, a lot of the medicines and things you're getting are not clean.
Right, yeah.
And it's like, according to the Bible, you should not put those in your body. Now, I'm not saying all medicines are bad. I'm not saying they haven't learned anything, but I'm saying that you personally better make sure that that pill that you're ingesting or whatever you're doing is clean. It's sanitary, okay? Because if it is not, if it is unclean, it's going to be unhealthy on your body. Now, whenever you question anything in the medical community, they will mock at you.
Right.
They'll say you're a fool. You don't know what you're talking about. But what I want to talk about here is vaccinations. Mm-hmm. Right. Let me ask you a question. How clean are vaccinations? Or do you even know what you're ingesting into your body? Okay, now let me say this, that I was vaccinated as a kid. My wife was not vaccinated much, but you know, most of us in this room, we were vaccinated as kids. Now, when I was a kid, they would vaccinate you for like 7 things,
right,
8 things. Now, they're like, oh, I'm so worried about little Johnny getting flu one day. I'm so worried he might, get chicken pox. And so they just vaccinate you with like 50 things. It's crazy how many things that you're putting in your body. And you have to ask yourself, before you're injecting that in, you better make sure that what you're injecting in is actually clean.
Right.
It's actually healthy. Okay? All you have to do is go to Facebook and read post after post after post after post of a parent saying, I saw my child vaccinated. 5 seconds later, he started to shake and he's permanently paralyzed. That happens all the time.
Right.
You can see it over and over and over again on Facebook. But now what's happening is they're trying to censor all those posts.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Right. They're trying to make the argument basically be like, oh, it's 2 + 2 = 4. You guys don't know what you're talking about. Now look, as someone who believes the Bible, everything I do should be based on the Bible first.
Yeah.
Right. Okay? I will trust in the Bible and make sure it lines up with the Word of God, no matter what the medical community says. Because I personally, and this is up to you to do what you want to do with your kids, I will never vaccinate any of our kids.
Amen. Amen.
Right? And the number one reason why is because I do not believe it lines up with what the Bible says. Okay? Now, vaccinations are not something that's been around for a super long time, but there's also no new thing under the sun, so I'm sure there have been things that are similar to vaccinations in the past. Okay? You say, what exactly are vaccinations? Well, here's what it says about vaccinations. A vaccine typically contains an agent that resembles a disease-causing microorganism and is often made from weakened or killed forms of the microbe. Its toxins are one of its surface proteins. The agent stimulates the body's immune system to recognize the agent as foreign, destroy it, and remember. So that the immune system can more easily recognize and destroy any of these microorganisms that it later encounters. So basically, you inject a disease into your body.
Right.
But it's like a low dose of the disease, and it's supposed to help you fight off a big dose of the disease. Now, I don't know. To me, it never made any sense.
Yeah.
I was like everybody else. Before I became a Christian, I never really thought about anything. You just kind of assume what you're taught is true or whatever. But when I got saved, I remember because my sister was not vaccinated. She's a few years older. And I don't even know if I was saved when she told me this. She was just saying, why she didn't do it. And I was just like, oh, it makes sense to me. It doesn't really make sense to inject a disease into your body. That just doesn't logically make sense to me.
Right.
So, oh, you're just an idiot. You're a moron. You're simple. No, when you see like 100 people make posts about how they personally saw their daughter get a vaccination and like 5 minutes later, they end up dying. I'm sorry, but eventually it's like that's too big of a coincidence.
Right.
When it happens that often, it's not one case, it's not 2 cases. It happens. It's not just autism. It's with all kinds of diseases. Right after they get vaccinated, guess what? They often end up having problems. You say, why is that? When you're injecting 60 diseases into a little baby, what do you expect to have happen?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they're a little child.
Yep.
It's like, are you kidding? I mean, if you honestly believe in these things, and look, like I said, you're welcome to do whatever with your kids. I'm just showing what I believe the Bible teaches.
Uh-huh.
Right. And we're talking about uncleanness, and look, there's not much more unclean you can inject into your body than vaccinations.
Right.
It's completely inappropriate. What does it say in Leviticus 10, verse 9 and 10? Do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee. When you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest you die, it shall be a statute forever throughout your generations, that you may put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean. There should be a difference between the unclean and the clean.
Yep.
And look, I'm not going to inject something unclean into my son.
Right.
And look, you will have doctors, you will have hospitals that will really try to push you to do this. As a parent, if you have the same standards, the same beliefs as I do on this topic, you honestly have to fight to not have your kids vaccinated.
Right.
They will try to do it. And some hospitals I've heard, they just do it without asking because it's just basically protocol. You need to be very careful as a parent. I mean, if you don't believe in them, you need to be very careful. Now, it's up to you to do what you want. But you guys better be very careful about what you're allowing to be injected into your young child.
Right.
And they'll be very tricky about it. Because when we were at the hospital, we had had a problem with the birth before, so we had a Zelle delivered at a hospital, and we gave them very clear instructions. We told them over and over again. We're very repetitive. And then when the pediatrician came, she's like, oh, it's time for the vitamin K shots. And so, well, wait a minute. And at the time, I didn't really know what the vitamin K shot was. I had researched it. I was like, I don't know what that is that you're trying. She's like, oh, it's just a vitamin. I said, well, I need to research it first. And what happens? Well, she ends up talking down to me and basically saying I was an idiot. That's the way she talked. Now, what's funny is, I doubt that this lady even has kids of her own, but she's an expert on raising young babies. It's like, she's a pediatrician. It's like, have you raised young kids? Because honestly, when we have problems with Zeph, we ask, various moms that have lots of kids, and usually they have the answers. Oh, you need to do this, and then boom, the flu's gone in 2 days. Why don't you ask a mom that's actually raised kids than someone who got a degree in college?
Right.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to trust the mom who's raised kids successfully than someone who got a degree in college.
Right.
Turn to Isaiah 35. Isaiah 35. Now, this should not be strange preaching in this country. Because in 2017, there was something called the dang vaccine controversy.
Yep.
And so when they wanted to get a vaccine for the dengue virus, and guess what? They found a lot of people started to die when they got vaccinated.
Right. Yeah.
Now, what's funny about this is they try to say, no, nobody really died. It's just a big conspiracy. Well, why did you have to make such a big cover-up?
That's right.
Why is it that you can go to Wikipedia, and it was so prominent that Wikipedia talks about it? It was obviously a big event. There's plenty of people that said, hey, we got the vaccination. Our child died the next day. Supposedly only 131 kids and 3 adults, but I believe it was a lot more.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. But this was in 2017. This was not a long time ago. Don't tell me that they haven't figured it out. You say preach the Bible. Well, I am preaching the Bible. Isaiah 35, verse 3. Strengthen ye the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. The Bible says to strengthen the weak hands and confirm the feeble knees. And the best application is with a young child. See, when there's a young child, they are basically at the mercies of the people that are doing things to them. Okay? Now look, it is your choice what you want to do with your kids. But as much as I can, I want to strengthen the weak hands of these young babies in our room and give you sound advice from the Bible. Because, look, this is why I preached on this at the very end, because this whole sermon is about cleanliness. And 30 to 60% of the world's population dying. And Leviticus talking about these things, and now they want to inject something completely unclean into your body.
Right.
Look, as a Christian, it does not line up with the Word of God.
Right.
It is not going to be healthy. It's not going to be good. And here's the thing about this. It's proven not to work. It's been proven not to work in our country. Now turn to Matthew 9. Turn to Matthew 9. Now what's funny about this is they always make a big deal about how it should be mandatory vaccinations. The kids, anytime that they try to say that the parents can't decide, make the decision for their kids, there's a big problem. When they try to force you to do something. But basically, mandatory vaccinations, kids don't have a choice. They say, if you don't vaccinate your kids, then our kids could be at risk. Wait a minute. If you got vaccinated against the dengue virus, and then my son doesn't get vaccinated against it, why would you be at risk if you were vaccinated, which is supposed to protect you?
Right.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're protected from it because you had the vaccination, why do you care what other people do? No, you just want to control it.
That's
In
right.
fact, they're very manipulative about this because, like, when my wife moved to the U.S., they talk about vaccinations you're supposed to take, and they said the reason for the vaccinations is because we don't want you to be able to bring over some disease. If you happen to have a disease and you don't get vaccinated for this, you can bring it over to a new society. Vaccinations are preventative. So if they already have the disease, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah.
It's like, and people don't read this stuff, so they don't even think about it. Vaccinations are supposed to prevent diseases, okay? So if they already have the disease, that doesn't make any sense.
Right. Yeah.
But, honestly, they just say stuff and people just kind of assume. Well, this is what I told the pediatrician when she was basically trying to force us to do this. I quoted Matthew 9, verse 12, where it says this. But when Jesus heard that, he said unto them, they that be whole need not a physician, but they that are sick. If you're whole, if you're healthy, if you're in good shape, you don't need a physician.
Yeah.
Right. Okay? Now look, if you break your leg, go to the doctor and get surgery.
Right.
Look, if you break your leg, I'm not saying just drink apple cider vinegar and you're going to be okay. I'm not saying a little bit of honey is going to fix that torn ACL. No, you need to go to the doctor and get surgery.
Right.
But if you are whole, you don't need a physician. Okay?
Right.
Now, let me just give you an explanation, just from a logical standpoint, why it doesn't make sense to me. Other than the fact that it just doesn't logically make sense. But when I tore my ACL and I had surgery, my doctor told me I basically had 3 options for the surgery. You can either use a hamstring. I had a torn ACL, anterior cruciate ligament. It's a big injury. And he said you can either use a hamstring graft, where basically you take part of the hamstring and you put it into the ligament of the ACL, and it actually makes the ligament stronger than before because your hamstring's strong.
Right.
Another method he mentioned, he basically didn't even really say much about it. He said it's kind of a new method, and you could end up having lots of pain the rest of your life. So I kind of rejected that. The other method was a cadaver. A cadaver is a dead body part. Well, basically, you take another ligament and you put it in place of that, and it's supposed to replicate that. Now, normally, I would have just said, and even looking back, it was probably the best choice using a hamstring graft. Okay? But the reason why I chose against it is because when I was in high school, I was injured for 2 years because I severely pulled my hamstring. And I was afraid that if I took more of my hamstring, it would be even weaker, or if I took the other hamstring, I could have weak hamstring. So I have a cadaver in my body. But this is what he told me is the concern with the cadaver. He said your body is like a machine. And if you inject some foreign thing into your body, there's a good chance your body will completely reject it, and it might not work. Now, it doesn't usually happen, but he said sometimes your body will reject it. And he said the hamstring graft is the safest way. It works. Because if you use a cadaver, what could end up happening is your body could say, hey, this is not meant to be here, and it can completely reject it. Look, if you get vaccinated and a bunch of unclean stuff goes into your system, your body could just naturally just reject that altogether, what you're claiming would work.
Right.
It's like when people drink a lot of alcohol, oftentimes they throw up because their body rejects it because it's poison that's not meant to be there.
Right. Right.
And so even logically, I just don't get what they're arguing. And look, those are not my words or my thoughts. That is what my surgeon told me. He said that if you have, a cadaver in your body could end up rejecting it because it's not meant to be there. Now, let's look at one last place, Leviticus 19. Leviticus 19. Now, as I said, you're all welcome to do what you want. As parents, as fathers, as mothers, God gave you children. It's your job to raise them. It's not my job. I'll preach what the Bible says, give you guidance, and then you make the choices. If you say, hey, I just want my kid to watch TV all day, well, that's your choice. I'm not going to go to your home and make your decision for you. I'm just giving you guidance from the Word of God. But you say, well, why are you preaching on this? It's so controversial. I'm preaching on it because it ties in with the sermon.
Yeah.
But also, you preach on what are issues of the day.
Right.
Now, according to their claim, vaccinations are a new thing. So why is it that the world's been around for 4.5 billion years according to them? And now all of a sudden, just 100 years ago, whoops, we need all these vaccinations. It's like, that doesn't really make a whole lot of sense.
Right.
Now, Leviticus 19,